Hello, everyone. Today is another double upload day because I forgot to upload yesterday, and today's topic will be S ranks and why they are S rank on their perspective types. So, obviously, we have a lot of S ranks right now because the viability rankings have not been updated as per the current meta trends, which is why you see Durant in S rank when it clearly isn't. And for those reasons, I'm going to be just talking about why they were previously S rank, and my opinions on like some of the S ranks and like some of the stuff there, and just getting you guys to know like what makes a Pokemon S rank on a type. So without further ado, let's start with Bug as we always do. Bug, the S ranks are Durant, Shuckle, Sizor, and Volcarona. So obviously, Durant obviously a pretty solid mod. It's not S rank anymore, in my opinion at least. It'll definitely drop once the VR gets updated, but the reason why it was S rank before was because virtually it was the strongest Pokemon Bug had to offer. Because before, Bug didn't have Sizor, it didn't have Volcarona, it didn't have Heracross. So without these key attackers, you were left with like some really other mediocre Pokemon otherwise, like Ribombee, Galvantula, Centiskorch was actually pretty good too. And because you have to rely on Pokemon like those, it was no guess that Durant was definitely going to be one of the better Pokemon out of them all because it has pretty good power with a Hustle, Life Orb, and with its new move and First Impression, it definitely set itself apart from a lot of the other Bug types because it just had a really strong priority stab move that it had when it came in, and it still had some pretty decent coverage moves as well, such as Iron Head, Superpower, stuff like that. And it also was pretty fast. 348 is no joke. So, yeah, that's the reason it used to be S rank. It's not S rank now, in my opinion, because obviously it gets outclassed by Sizor because Sizor has better stab. It also isn't nearly as potent as it was before because now you have Pokemon like Volcarona and Heracross that can serve better as sweepers. And in general, the Life Orb chip is just too much to make it a really big threat on Bug. It's still dangerous on its own, but as a general Pokemon on Bug, I feel like it's now outclassed by Sizor, and that's why it's not going to see as much usage. It'll still be decent, but it's not going to be S rank as it used to be, because it was definitely the defining one of the best Pokemon on Bug because of its offensive pressure and just how much it dwarfs the other Bug Pokemon in sheer power and threat capability. And it was for those reasons why it was S rank. Next S rank we have was Sizor. So Sizor, I don't think I really need to describe why. If you've played competitive Pokemon for more than like a month, you should probably know why Sizor is on this list and is an S rank on Bug in particular. But for those of you who don't know, Sizor is a really strong priority attacker with Technician and Bullet Punch. It really runs Band. It can run Band. It can run Life Orb. It doesn't really matter. But yeah, it has Technician, Bullet Punch, which is extremely good at dealing with a lot of threats. It's one of the strongest priority options in the game because of its 60 base power and essentially becoming like really, really strong. With a Choice Band or Sword Stance off of its 130 attack stat, that is no joke. And aside from that, it's also got U-Turn, which can form very powerful U-turn cores with other Bug types. Also with a Volt Turn with a Galvantula as well, which is a really strong offensive tactic that you can use to just KO Pokemon and constantly switch around all the Pokemon you have access to. But yeah, it's S rank because of its offensive capabilities, its ability to just completely dwarf matchups like Rock, Ice, and Fairy all on its own. Its ability to do that on its own is why it's one of the best Pokemon Bug has to offer, even though it does have its weaknesses like its middling speed outside of its priority. And its coverage moves, while they are decent, they aren't exactly the best, and you can't even run all of them all the time because you have to run U-turn in order to actually not be set up bait or really predictable. So that's why you have to be careful when you're using Sizor. But other than that, it's really one of the best Pokemon Bug has to offer, and it offensively encompasses what Bug is trying to accomplish, which is win as many matches as possible with a webs and rock support from Shuckle, and just have really threatening offensive Pokemon as a result. And Scizor definitely fits into that niche perfectly and accomplishes that goal very well because of the reasons I mentioned before. So, for those reasons, Scizor is definitely an S-rank Pokemon. Next up, we got Volcarona. So, Volcarona is also definitely an S-rank Pokemon for very, very obvious reasons. Volcarona uses Fire, Quiver Dance, and all sorts of other moves. No, not you. Quiver Dance, Fiery Dance, Bug Buzz, all sorts of stuff you can use. Well, not even Bug Buzz, but like Giga Drain and other moves like that. But yeah, in general, and with the addition of Heavy Duty Boots, Volcarona is one of the most dangerous special attackers, period, like in the entire Pokemon metagame. And it's obviously very dangerous on Bug because it can just outright win matchups, similar to Scizor. Steel, it completely destroys on its own. It can also do quite a bit of work against weakened fairy teams. It can do quite a bit of work against fighting teams. The amount of matchups it's good in is pretty decent. The amount of matchups it can do very well in is very expansive, and if you play this thing properly, which is pretty easy to do with Bug, because you do have a lot of other offensive teammates that can wear down your checks. Because of this, Volcarona is just absolutely amazing on Bug, and it can just absolutely destroy teams. Like we talked about this in the most annoying Pokemon to deal with, or I think it was either that or something else. But yeah, Volcarona is definitely one of the scariest Pokemon because of its ability to just completely wipe matchups and just be the scariest thing ever that you have to always prepare for when you're dealing with Bug. And it's for these reasons and its threat level that Volcarona is definitely S-rank. Compared to a lot of the other special attackers, it's just way better. Because Ribombee has its weakness to Steel, obviously, and while its stabs are definitely decent and it is a little bit faster, it's also way more frail. It doesn't have access to, well, it might have access to Roost, actually. Hold on. It does have access to Roost, but it's not nearly as bulky as Volcarona, and Volcarona's not super bulky, but its typing is definitely a little bit better defensively than Ribombee, despite the Rock's weakness, obviously, but it's able to take some hits a little bit better for Bug, and the Fire typing allows it to take Steel hits, and Flame Body allows it to burn physical attackers a little bit better. So it can actually run like a sort of bulky set with a Roost, which is another reason why it's really good, because it can just choose to run Roost and just be even more dangerous against certain types, especially types that rely on wearing it down slowly in order to beat it. Meanwhile, Ribombee just kind of gets worn down by like really strong priority. Volcarona, while it's still weak physically, it's not nearly as frail as Ribombee is. And for those reasons, it's definitely still a better Quiver Dancer. Because, yeah, also, the Fire Stab is just better coverage in general, because it hits more things super effectively, and it just deals like a lot more damage as well. Ribombee is still decent, but it relies on Bug and Fairy Stab, and Bug and Fairy Stab can still get walled really, really easily. So that's why Volcarona is still a little bit better, because its typing is quite literally offensively better than Ribombee's, despite having that niche against Dragon. But yeah, Volcarona is definitely one of the most threatening Quiver Dancers, and it's just super, super dangerous, and you always have to be prepared for it. Next Pokemon we have is... let's see. Oh, that is it, actually. No, we have to talk about Shuckle. So, Shuckle. So, if you know anything about Monotype Bug, you know that Shuckle is the literal defining Pokemon of Monotype Bug. So, Shuckle has access to Sticky Web. Sticky Web, Stealth, and Stealth Rock. So these two moves, along with its immense bulk, basically making sure that it basically never dies in one hit, and even if it does somehow die in one hit from like a critical hit or something, it has Sturdy to always stay up. Mental Herb disables Taunt from working whatsoever, And because of that, it always gets a guaranteed hazard up, which is incredibly good against certain teams that lack hazard removal, especially now. Some offensive teams don't really have hazard removal, and because of the lack of hazard removal, uh, those types just aren't able to do very well against bug in general. So Shuckle essentially defines the entire type on its own because of its ability of using sticky webs and stealth rock at the same time. It was able to do this last gen, but it suffered a little bit more because of the lack of heavy duty boots, the need for hazard removal, and just in general, they needed roll composition more on bug than we did on last gen, because we needed a rapid spinner to deal with the rocks that plagued bug for generations. But now that heavy duty boots is a thing, teammates like Volcarona and Rybombi, and others don't really need to worry about stealth rock and sticky web as much because they have heavy duty boots already. And it's for this reason that Shuckle is actually able to be run now. Because while it was okay before in the last generation, for the reasons I stated before, you needed as much coverage as you can, which is why Galvantula used to be ran over it, because it covered webs and was also a very good special attacker against water teams. Now Galvantula doesn't need to run webs this generation, although it still does, because it's a good secondary web setter in case Shuckle gets defogged on, which in that case, Galvantula beats most of the defoggers in the game, so it is still able to. Well, did I say Shuckle? I meant to say Galvantula. Galvantula beats out most of the defoggers in the game, but regardless, Shuckle still is incredible, because even though Galvantula does do that, Galvantula is better used as a special attacker that can use Thunderwave to slow things down now. And while that Pokemon is still good in its own right, Shuckle on its own just is incredible. We didn't even mention the access to Encore and Knockoff. Encore essentially just basically keeps this thing from being a setup bait. So if something like let's say a Bewear is setting up on you because you're just easy bait, they can just substitute in front of you and not have to worry about a thing. You can just click Encore on the Bewear and they're stuck in Bulk Up the entire time, or they're stuck in Drain Punch, doesn't matter. And you can just switch out into Volcarona instantly and just start Quiver Dancing. Like, that's why Shuckle's incredible as a lead, because it can just outright stop certain leads. It can stop certain leads, it can stop setup sweepers. It basically just forces you to deal with Shuckle, and to either risk getting one hazard up and getting beaten by that one hazard, or you have to play really carefully around it. Before, it was invalidated by Urshifu Rapid Strikes, but now Water can't even do that anymore. And most multi-hit move Mons, like a Cloyster, don't really kill it that effectively. Because Rock, if it's physically defensive, which it should be, Shuckle eats Rock Blast for breakfast, so don't really gotta worry about that. But yes, Shuckle is definitely the defining mon on Bug, and it's the main reason why it's a potent type in the generation. Because even though Galvantula does do the webs roll better because it's faster, Shuckle's ability to do rocks and webs all in one slot just allows it to be incredible, and allows Bug to do some really insane offensive things because of that. Also, I should have mentioned that Encore's defoggers, which can allow you to trap them with Volcarona other teammates, or even potentially get the read on them and just put up your hazards again, which is incredible, obviously. But yeah, these are Bug's S ranks: Volcarona, Scizor, and Shuckle, and kinda sorta Durant. So the things all these things have in common, all these Pokemon have in common, is that they all define the type and help define the type and like make the type. They're generally, not only are they the most threatening Pokemon on the type, but like they're also like defining Pokemon of the type. Like, you need these Pokemon in order to make a super successful team with this type. Because Volcarona, if you don't have Volcarona, you have to worry a lot about Steel. You have to worry a ton about Steel, and other steel types, which there are a lot of steel types in this game, so you can't constantly be relying on Sizor's superpower or anything else like that to deal with all the steel types in this game. Because, like, imagine dealing with Ghost, and you don't have any sort of way to deal with steel types. That just means Aegislash comes in, possibly Toxics one of your Mons, or just clicks Shadow Ball. Like, that's just not good for your team. And that's why you need someone like Volcarona to deal with steel types. Not only are steel types very, very dangerous, but like just in general as a special sweeper, Volcarona takes huge advantage over webs because it basically allows. Not only does it have 100 base speed, but it's also a lot stronger than Ribombee. I should have mentioned that before, but yes, Volcarona is stronger than Ribombee. Way stronger than Ribombee. 40 base power difference between Ribombee. But yes, Volcarona is extremely powerful because of its 135 special attack stat, the fact that it's further boosted by webs, and if the opposing team is affected by rocks, it just completely eviscerates entire teams on its own, thanks to its move pool. It's threatening because of webs. Well, not just because of webs, but like it's threatening in combination with webs and other factors. But yeah, Sizor is also threatening because it takes advantage of webs as well, thanks to its low speed and its ability and its really high attack stat. So you'll see that being a common thing, that they're all very good with webs and Stealth Rock. And the reason why webs are so potent on Bug is because it allows their slower Pokemon, because Bug traditionally does have pretty slow Pokemon. Of course, there's obvious exceptions like Ribombee and Durant, but most of the Pokemon on Bug are very slow. Like Heracross is also a good example of this, but Shuckle essentially allows Bug to have some sort of speed control, because they don't really have a lot of good options of speed control, especially against because most Bug teams usually rely on like either Heracross or some other Pokemon as their choice scarfer, and those Pokemon are generally pretty slow. So what Shuckle does is that he uses Sticky Web to help alleviate that issue and actually allow Bug to have an offensive presence, because without webs, Bug would just suffer offensively a lot and would just get like absolutely run over by like a lot of types very easily. Like it would absolutely get crushed by fighting, it would get run over by water, it would just get absolutely eviscerated if it wasn't for the threat level that webs held. So it is for that reason that Shuckle essentially enables this entire webs playstyle and allows Bug to actually be sort of decent in this metagame. That's why he's S rank, and that's why Pokemon like Sizor and Volcarona are also S rank, because they take advantage of those webs and they allow you to beat out a lot of matchups just by them being there. And it is for those reasons that they are S rank on the type. Back when Durant was S rank, Durant was literally one of the best Pokemon on the type in general. It also took advantage of webs, it also took advantage of rocks, and with its new stab at first impression, it was fantastic at revenge killing and just doing a lot of damage to opposing Pokemon. Now, it was sort of inconsistent because of Hustle, but that didn't stop it from being like the best of the worst of the Pokemon that Bug had to offer at the moment. So because of that, Durant was definitely one of the best Pokemon on Bug at the time, and he was definitely a defining feature of the type, because you had to be prepared to deal with Durant and the instant threat level he established when he came in. But yeah, that'll do for this type. So I hope you guys enjoyed this kind of video. If you want more, feel free to let me know in the comments below. But yeah, this is Nevernan, and I'm signing off. Have a great day, guys.